Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Sacred Soul Shift series. I'm your host, Vanessa, your trusted soul navigator and energy alchemist. In this series, we'll embark on soul-stirring adventures through the realms of intuition and self-healing with women across all modalities, where ancient wisdom and modern insights intertwine. So if you're tired of the scripted routine and ready for healing and growth, my kindred spirit, this series is crafted just for you. It's time for your Sacred Soul Shift. Hello, ladies, and welcome to another episode. We have our special guest, Gayle Lynn, with us here today. She is feeling very brave, and she's offered to share her special story with us. She's opening up about her relationship and sharing her journey about opening up her relationship. I'm just going to go through her little bio for you. Gayle Lynn is a relationship coach focused on what do you do when your partner wants to have sex with another person. Love this. Can't wait to dive into this. Or maybe it's you who want to have sex with someone else. She has a passion to empower women to make educated choices about their relationships. She has personally experienced her spouse coming to her and expressing his desire to have sex with someone else. So many people will go out of their way and cheat on their partner when there is a better way to handle the situation. Creating open and honest communication is key in these situations. Big feelings come up and many don't know how to process them. I feel this. Having someone who has no agenda and creates a space where there will be no shame or guilt is what her clients experience. Love that. Through Gayle Lynn's experience, she learned how many relationships can be messy when someone is expressing their sexual desires. She helps to navigate family and cultural beliefs, communication pitfalls, processing emotions, and much more. Her desire is that her clients will be able to evolve their relationships into what they desire and achieve inner peace. For some, this may be creating intimacy in the marriage, opening their marriage, and for some, it may be ending up in divorce. Whichever decision is made, she can guide you through it without judgment or an agenda. She is trained in the chakra method of coaching and used her care method to facilitate her coaching style. All right, big mouthful for so early in the morning. I'm going to bring her in for you. Hi, Gayle. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for that introduction. That was definitely a mouthful.
So. I feel like I've just woken up and it's so many big words for me to express out of my mouth so early in the morning. But love it. I love hearing this little snippet of your background and I can't wait to dive into it deeper with you. It sounds very intriguing.
Well, it definitely has been a journey. I can say that. I like it said in the intro. So I'm just putting do not disturb on so I don't get any dings. I said in the intro is we were at a time in our life, like my husband and I had known each other for over 30 years at the time. That includes, before marriage and everything. And we ended up getting married at a very young age. So he was like 19. I had just turned 21. And we were strongly into the church. And so, of course, there's no sex before marriage and all this stuff. And well, we kind of slipped, right? We kind of slipped and ended up as a consequence feeling a lot of shame and guilt over it and stuff. So then, of course, the next step is let's get married. So we did. We got married. We had the kids, getting to the point where some of them are starting to go on their own and stuff. And we started to go through like this spiritual awakening. And so kind of through this process, like all these things start kind of coming up. And one of the things for him was, I've never had sex with another woman. I don't know what that's like. And I would like to know what it's like. And for me, we've got all the belief systems that come up. There's one man, one wife. What are you doing? This is, you can't do this. This is a bad thing. And that came up within me and it was a shock. And I can tell you what, I went crying into the closet because I didn't know what else. I literally, and I kid you not, I went into my closet, buried myself under my clothes and just bawled my eyes out because I didn't know what to do. But let me tell you, it's in those moments where we start looking at ourselves like, okay, what is going on? Is it me? Is it him? Is it us? Kind of what's going on in this moment. And for me, I know I was shut down sexually. And part of the reason is because we had a son who was a heroin addict. So mommy bird is pretty concerned about baby bird, and daddy bird is like dealing with it by wanting to have more sex, and mommy doesn't want to have sex. And so we're kind of in this cycle. And so, it didn't surprise me after I really looked at everything why he would go into that space or why he would have that desire and stuff. And so from there, you know, let me tell you, now I'm on a personal development journey because this is going to start bringing out everything within us. Like it's basically the start of almost like a dark night process or a hero's journey process, where now you're going to start traveling down a road, right?
And I hear that so much. I just want to say that moment when you're crying on the floor. I think that is something that you hear quite often, and it's the point where everything shifts for us. I think there's always a moment in most people that start this awakening on this personal development journey. You might, dabble in a few things to start with, but it's that moment when you hit rock bottom and you're on the floor and you're in tears and you're just like, shit. I think that's the moment where everything shifts, and that's the moment everything starts. You might think it starts beforehand, but it's when you hit rock bottom and you're like, what next? What can I do? Is there more? There has to be more. Like, help me. I think that moment is the beginning for everything. And if you hit that moment, great. And if you haven't, it's coming.
Right.
But embracing that moment is what it's all about, and learning that everything gets better from here on out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It is. It's those moments in life when life is going to say, okay, that something needs to shift. And it might come in something small to begin with, and you kind of ignore it. And so then it gets bigger, and then you still kind of ignore it, and it gets even bigger sometimes until it might become a slap in your face, right? Yeah. I've been down those roads too. So anymore, I'm like, kind of clue into it a little bit. I've gotten better.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's not ignore this one. So so what I did actually, and what we ended up doing is I really did look at myself, and I said, okay, well, what could we do to really open up into this space and maybe just see what we could develop between the two of us. And so one of the things that we did to start out was orgasmic meditation. And it's also called slow sex. And it's basically a container where, the woman will leave her top on and everything, but takes her top off. And then the man will like really gently rub her clit. And you do this as a meditative practice. What that did for me is it completely changed everything. Like, it started to really bring out who I was as a sexual being, as a sexual person in this lifetime. And so it was the start. And so then we kind of went a year, and then it kind of came back around again, where my husband had said, I really still have a desire to have sex with somebody else. And at this point, like, I've been married 30 years. I know these things aren't going away. So let's just hit them head on, and let's see where we can go from here. A lot of people would just freak out, say, leave, get out of the house, whatever. But I was like, no, there's something else here. Let's really take a look at this. And so what we did is we actually went and took some sacred sexuality classes, the Kwadoshka in particular. And what it did, there's so much personal development in there. You're really looking at who you are as a person, but it also gives you a chance to kind of connect with some exercises with different people. So it actually created, it was a great place for us to go to have a container where we could experience I could experience other men, he could experience other women, and not like having sex, but they are like, have to do with like chakra merging, or like even just getting your chakras realigned, like those kind of things. And understanding how you cultivate that sexual energy and all this stuff. And so, and then we learned about all these different styles of relationships, that the monogamy, the open relationship, the polyamory, the different ways that you can actually create a relationship. And so it was at that point where we really did choose consciously to say, okay, let's have other partners. And we chose to open the relationship. Now, mind you, this took hours and hours of communication. It's not like you just decide one day and you do it. Like there's a lot of communicating that needs to go on, because man, it's going to start fleshing out within your system, everything. Like you want to get it out, it's going to come. The jealousy, the insecurities, all of it will start coming to the surface.
So before you went through this process, you were in corporate world, so you weren't a relationship coach at this point. You were kind of learning on the journey.
Yep, we were actually we have had several businesses together. So Dave and I, that's his name. We had spent, 25 years in different businesses. And so we were around each other almost all the time. And then I ended up starting to dabble into getting some work, doing some corporate stuff in the medical field and stuff. But yeah, so, and we were completely monogamous. And so this was all brand new. And so we just started by taking little baby steps. But along the way, boy, did we have to learn how to communicate and not continue to go around the circles, because you start getting into these communication circles and you're not really going anywhere. And sometimes we do this day after day, and it almost became like a part-time job. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I do now, is because I went through this and it was messy, and I reached for this solution and I reached for this solution and tried to duct tape them all together to try and figure out how to do this, while not really having anybody in my court to help me. So the program that I've created is actually so I can be there if somebody is choosing to guide through this, like their relationship is changing. It's evolving to some other state, that I can take all of these different things that I've learned and then really be able to help facilitate an easier process for somebody else, because they do have somebody in their court, without shame, without guilt. There's no judgment. It's what you desire. But my goal is to get them to a place where they're empowered to make the decision they truly want, because it might be what their spouse wants, but what do they really want?
For sure. And when he first came to you and said, I want to have sex with someone else, that reaction led to you going into the closet. And then it was okay, before you do that, I want to work it out. I want us to, succeed first. You didn't go yes and open up the marriage straight away. It was a process of trying to work through it first.
It was, and because, it was, he saw how it affected me, and it was kind of nerve-wracking anyways. Like, do I dare, after all this programming, go out and have sex with somebody else? Like, that just is so taboo. Or, a lot of times people just say it's the end of a marriage, and it doesn't have to be. It's really a space where you can pull in and begin to communicate and see what each other's desires really are. And then you can choose from there. And yeah, and there's, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just going to say, especially coming from, a church background as well, I think that's more ingrained in your soul and in your values to try and work it out.
It is. Those cultural beliefs, societal beliefs, we're trained from being very small the relationship escalator, where you meet somebody and then you get to know them, and then marriage comes, then sex comes, then the babies come, and you grow old, and it just, you're going up this escalator. And that's what we're taught. Very, very few kids. There are some, there's definitely a lot of polyamorous families out there that, raise their kids differently. But the majority of people and what's in the movies and society and all of that stuff, it's that relationship escalator. So,
sure, yeah. And we always want that Disney relationship. Yeah. That's so false, really.
It really is, because people change, people grow. I have one client, she came to me, and her and her partner, they have a great relationship. Spiritually, they're aligned. Emotionally, they love each other, but they have mismatched sex drives. She has a high sex drive, and he just isn't really interested. And so why can't we retain the parts that are good, and then maybe see what we can do with the other parts, so that everybody is having the life that they desire and want to live? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't get that relationships are not, I think it's two moving parts, and we're both different, and it's compromise, but it's also understanding that this other person is not exactly the same as you. And what you just said just put that so perfectly.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, relationships are mirrors. So there's something that's mirroring going on in there. And sometimes it also takes like that third person to kind of pinpoint where that's at. So you can see kind of really what you're trying to work through. Because it's a journey. It's an experience. That's, it comes down to, well, why are we here in this lifetime? What are we doing here? And then you can start getting into, and this is something that went really deep for us, is why are we here? Like, that's, you start going through this awakening process, and it's like, what am I doing here on this earth? I don't know what this is, and why am I here? And so then you start discovering, okay, it's a soul journey, and you chose to come here, and there's certain things that you decided to come here in your lifetime and work out. And so through that process, then you start saying, okay, what is life showing me? What is it that I came here to really work out and find that purpose and of being here? And I believe that some people waking up to what it is and what's going on in this lifetime, and others are here to just to not. And then they come back maybe in the next lifetime, and maybe that's the lifetime that they do it.
I feel the same. Yeah, some of us are here to learn, the deep challenges, and some of us are just here for another life. I feel that too.
Yeah. And so really, it's experiences and it's feelings, like learning how to deal with your feelings. And I would say relationships are a deep way to really learn how to deal with your feelings, because when you do have those one-on-one interactions, you got to feel. And if you don't, and if you're blocking it off, then that's another reason why the relationship isn't moving forward, is because you're not willing to really feel and get in there and see what's going on, and be able to move through and shift your life so that you really do enjoy your life. So
what happened after you opened up your marriage?
Oh boy. So after we opened the marriage up, it kind of took us a while. Like, okay, we acknowledged it. We said it, right? But I was the first one that got a boyfriend, or started. And it wasn't really a boyfriend at first, it was a couple dates and kind of talking about it. And it was somebody who was very experienced in like polyamory and all of that, which was really helpful, because he actually really helped us get through some of the humps the humps and bumps that can be there. So that was kind of nice. And, the other really important piece of it is like that you have communication with everybody, so we all three would go out to dinner and we would discuss how we want to do this. Um, and which is totally crazy, right? Like, okay, so now my husband is going to meet the boyfriend and we're all going to have a discussion of how this is going to work. It's pretty bizarre sounding, but the best way to do it. Because when you're trying to keep everybody separate and manage everybody separately and you're not on the same page, that's when all kinds of stuff starts going crazy. Because you're not operating in truth. You're trying to hide things, and they may be subtle things, and sometimes we hide them for all kinds of reasons. Some of them could be safety and security. We're just afraid that things are going to fall apart, so we're trying to manage that. It could be that you just aren't sure of what's going on, and so you're afraid to like share and things like that. But when you open and you really get into this space where you can embrace everybody, and everybody is kind of knowing, okay, we're going out, and this is who he is, and we have that communication, and the two guys or the two women have that communication, then it actually can become a very joyful experience. And, even for me, like, I think I would come back to Dave with more life and more excitement and joy in my life, which then he got to experience that happiness and joy because I was happier.
Yeah.
And
I love that you went first, even though he was the one that wanted to open the relationship.
I know, right? Yeah, I still hear that one to this day. And it's kind of it's actually easy. I think it's easier for women to find a date for a guy than it is for a guy to find a woman. That's just the experience that I've seen and had, and almost everybody I talk to that goes down this road kind of seems to say the same thing.
Was it a different experience for you to be on a date with your partner, meeting this boyfriend, to you meeting the other woman? I just feel there would be a totally different experience, and a lot of different emotions would come up between those two different situations.
Well, yeah, because, here's the thing is like, there's intimacy, right? Is when two people get together and they start forming their own relationship. So here I am, like this is so foreign, like the way he treats me, the way he does it, the way he communicates, it's all different. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is cool. Like I actually get to learn a different way to communicate with somebody. And the guy that I was seeing, he was a very good communicator. And I think it was one of the things that really drew me to him, because I was actually personally growing in a way that I wouldn't have through the marriage. But was it awkward? And what it was really awkward was when I had my date, he had his date, and we're at his date's birthday party. That would be wild.
That would be top of my awkward radar.
That was a little, it's like, okay, we're going to leave a little early, and I got to tell you this story. I'm going to back up just a little bit, because before we were getting ready, okay, so the topic comes up after a year, right? And so I'm like, okay, let's really decide what we're going to do here. We go into like I had this whole sacred space that I always have where I do my meditation. And we ended up taking our wedding rings off and just putting them on my altar. And so I said, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to, let's see what we can do. And then I discovered that the sacred sexuality classes were happening. And so I did that. Well, at the time we were also doing conscious show. It's called Exploring the Human Journey, where we interview different conscious people and discover what their journey was in life and see where everything's going. Well, we would always go, and Dave, because we own a video production company, Dave would always do like these pre-interviews. And so we were actually doing one on a lady who does shamanic Reiki. And so I got to be the subject in this one, and Dave was videotaping it. And so she's doing this Reiki, and I'm nervous to go to the sacred sexuality stuff. Like, I have no idea what I'm getting into. I am like this is an edge for me, like a huge edge. And so she's doing the Reiki on the table. And all of a sudden, and I noticed this was starting to happen days before, where I would have this energy that was really strong, like starting to run through from the base of my spine up, right? Okay. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? I didn't realize I was having a Kundalini awakening, right? So I'm on this Reiki table, and she's doing this Reiki on me. And all of a sudden I drop deep into trance, because I'm a meditator. I meditate for like an hour a day. And so it's easy for me to drop into a trance. So I drop into a trance, and all of a sudden I am shown like two people like being together, and all I see are the energy bodies, like exactly what's going on there, that like this is just an energy exchange. And for some reason that like totally switched everything for me, where I could literally go into this sacred sexuality, and I could look around and I could see the beauty of just two people having this spiritual experience, and just two energy bodies that are intertwined and getting to know each other. And the lady that was doing the Reiki on the table, she goes, I don't know what happened, but this big snake came out of you. She's like, I have never seen something like that before. So, it's just like, to me, those are the things that like the universe does for us, like when we're walking down these paths, to like actually help us along on our journey. It was amazing experience, and really set the stage for me to go into the sacred sexuality and see it in a completely different light, and see the beauty for what it was, rather than being so frightened and afraid. And I can say that whole workshop that we did changed my life forever, because I mean, I'm a mother of three. I'm 5'1", and when I had my babies, they were out here and stretched me to pieces, right? And so I was super self-conscious about my body, and that was, so going into this, I'm like, oh my goodness, and now it literally tilted it for me to where I could really accept my body and receive adoration and compliments from guys that weren't my husband on, you have a beautiful body. Talk about life-changing, to have that experience. It's just, it was fantastic. And, from there, I just realized, you know what, we're given the bodies we're given. We chose them, we incarnated into them. Mm-hmm. And it's another thing society is hijacked, is, the love of our bodies. And so that's another beautiful thing that really can come about by doing some of this work, and really learning how to embody and be in your body, love your body, cherish your body for the beauty that it is. So, yeah.
I love the divine timing for that as well, in your own path and your own journey to now becoming a relationship coach. It just seems like it was all planted in a way that has expanded your perception and your awareness of this relationship journey that you were on with your partner, but also your career. It's all happened in alignment with, I think, what you're supposed to be doing now in the person that you became through that experience. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing how we can look back on our lives and see like the little breadcrumbs, that happened to point us in the right direction. Because I can tell you what, I never thought I was going to be doing this. I had no idea. But I love it. I love to watch people be able to really see what society has done to break down those barriers and to say, hey, you know what, let's really, create something between us. And that may mean, hey, we want to be monogamous. We love it. There's a deepness, a juicy deepness about monogamy. And then there's also this space of polyamory where, sometimes one partner just can't fill all your needs or doesn't want to choose to, or, a myriad of things that are going on. And so then you might have these other partners, and then you might decide, okay, we're going to go back to monogamy, or, that's the beauty of it, is like getting out of the stuckness of it needs to be a certain way. And let's just break those barriers down so that we can create and enjoy the life that we really want to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love the idea that life is for us, and then we can do whatever we want. I think people get stuck in this notion that they have to do life a certain way, which includes everything that life includes, right? And
yeah,
we feel judged and shameful at, all the things just for wanting to experiment something different, which is really powerful that you're helping people through this. Leading on to that, you ended up getting divorced. Why did you end up getting divorced in the end?
We did end up.
Sure.
I know. A lot of people are like, your relationship, well, it didn't work for you. You got a divorce, right? And fair question. It's a very fair question. And it's interesting, as we started to move through these spaces, there was something even more at the core of like, what is going on? And do you ever talk about past lives in your podcasts? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
I got a good path. So, as we started moving through these spaces, it kind of even became more especially for Dave, that he was really he couldn't really find what his joy in life was. It went past the relationships to like, what do I do? Here's my midlife crisis. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. What am I supposed to do? And so for him, through this process, he also ended up like really diving into like, trying to figure out who he was. And then we kind of kept doing this thing where we would go back and forth, like, okay, let's stay together. Let's not stay together. Let's stay together. Because we're like best friends. Like really through this whole process, we were always communicating with each other. Like, let's just find out what's the best for both of us. And so, but we couldn't seem to make this decision. It's like we were stuck or something like that. And so I was getting a reading one day, and it was actually a school where they have like 3 psychics, right? And they all kind of line up and kind of say what they're seeing. And one of them said to us, they're like, it's like you guys I see you as brothers and sisters in a past life, and you're like tethered together. So you guys it's like one can't make a decision without the other one. And so it was kind of interesting. So I kind of walked away with that. And then what happened is, we're kind of looking at that and how is that playing out? We can see how it's playing out. So, okay, can we break that? Or is that what we're supposed to do in this lifetime? What's going on? But it's like we didn't have the whole story yet. So then my oldest son actually died from a opioid overdose. And so then we started to kind of go back into our old patterns and looping and doing all this stuff. And so I asked a friend of mine, I said, hey, would you mind stepping in and, being our third person so we can hear where the looping is happening, what's going on here. And so he did. And he's one of these guys that can definitely tap in and see the past lives. He can see the whole story because he has channels he has like 5 different channels that will come through. And so we're working through this. This is going on for like quite a long time. We're talking hours, and we're talking through all this stuff. And then all of a sudden it just popped out right in front of him. And he could see, he's like, you guys were brother and sister in a past life. You guys had sex as brother and sister, and you guys incurred so much shame and guilt that you could only rely on each other. And so here we come into this lifetime together. We meet up again. We end up having sex, getting shame and guilt for the sex, and ended up getting married because of the shame and the guilt. So we're like, ding, ding, ding. The story's just been outed. We know what we need to do in this lifetime to break this pattern. And that's why we really chose to get a divorce and then kind of go on our different journeys. Like we felt like there was something more for each one of us, that being apart was going to be a completely different journey where we would really grow into what our souls desired in this lifetime. And so that's really why we got divorced. It wasn't because of the relationship stuff. It was literally finding that pattern that needed to be broken between us for us to have our best optimal path.
So. It's like a karmic pattern that's come through each lifetime.
Yeah.
That you're able to do that.
And who knows, that could have been tethered back to lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. I because it was a strong pattern, and I could feel it, but once those stories are outed, then we now get the chance to shift. And that's the beauty. We get a chance. Doesn't mean we do it. Yeah. And that's why it could be lifetimes before this happens. But we really felt it's like, okay, so what if we get a divorce? Because really this was kind of started on shame and guilt. What if we were actually able to break that by doing this? And so that's why we chose to do it.
Love that. So are you still friends today? Are you seeing us?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. No, we are actually, I would say we're almost best friends in a way. Like we still can really share with each other what's going on. I share with him, oh, guess what? I got a date tonight, and going on a date, and and he totally supports my business. I support what he's doing. He's doing documentaries, so he's actually getting into his creative space, because that was another thing. When he was young, his mom felt he needed to be a doctor. And so when he bought a keyboard with some money, he got shamed for buying the keyboard. Like you can't make money. That's a, starving artist type thing. Mm-hmm. And so for him, it's actually pulling into how do I create in the world? Like, what am I here to create? And so it's kind of neat to watch his path unfold as he's getting these little breadcrumbs of opportunities to do these documentaries. And so he actually is doing one he just finished one, and it's getting ready to premiere on Amazon Prime on its adaptive diving. And so he actually went and followed these divers that are in wheelchairs or maybe have mental disabilities and things like that. And they actually train them and get them to the point where they can go diving into the ocean and experience like weightlessness and all this stuff. And it was interesting because through this documentary, it happened to be the time period when our son had died. Literally, he was scheduled to go on this journey a week later. And he's like, I don't know, should I go? Should I not go? I'm like, no, you need to go. We'll be fine. We'll figure it out. Just go. I can plan the service. I'll do whatever. And it was hard for him, and he had to kind of really keep it together. But then, he got the direct message and download from his son. He's like, Dad, you don't get it. This is about you. This is about you learning how to adapt to life and still be able to dive and still be able to do things. And so it was fascinating how it just all came about. And so, I'm 100% for him. I want him to succeed in life. He wants me to succeed in life. And so, yeah, it's it's a neat relationship. And, that's what I desire for people. Like, so many people walk away from their relationships hating the other person. And it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
You
What are
know,
your words of wisdom for people going through the same kind of situation?
I would say for me, that piece of wisdom is really being able to learn some good communication skills. And that's one of the things that I do in my program is we really work on those communication skills so that you don't go in those circles. Another thing that we do is attachment styles. So understanding your whole functioning and really knowing yourself, like even getting into like some astrology or some personality tests, like understanding who you are and what your needs really are in a relationship or in life, period. Getting that clarity of who you are and what you want, I think is really important. And then understanding how to process your emotions. Like people want to run away from their feelings. And what we're here to do is really, we're here to feel. And so being able to be in a space to teach somebody, how do you say something to somebody? How do you say what is true for you in the moment and not be afraid of what that person's going to feel? Because that's how codependency starts. We're always trying to manage how everybody else is going to feel. And it's exhausting, you know? And that's when people do that on a regular basis, then what ends up happening is we start getting the stuff stuck in our bodies, right? And that's where people start getting sick, is because they haven't learned how to process those emotions. And relationships are one of the biggest emotional triggers that you can have for people. Whether it's relationship with your family or friends or anything, everything's a relationship. So this is not only going to translate into a romantic relationship, but it's going to translate into your relationships in life to give you really be able to be in those empowering decisions. So having somebody in your court is huge. I had people here and there along the way. I would have appreciated having somebody who has experienced all of this stuff to be able to really be able to walk me through. I think it would have been a lot easier. You still have to go through the process. You can't get out of it. but,
Easy way around.
but there are easier ways. There's tools that make it a lot easier.
Yeah, I love that idea of the communication being the most important thing. I think a lot of people, not just romantic, as you said, but in every relationship, we tend to assume people know things, or we've told them something before, or they just understand what we're thinking, which
Right.
is crazy. And then we get offended, or we feel all the feels because the other person's not understanding something, or they don't get something, but we haven't communicated it properly in a way that they understand, in a way that they're actually listening to us. So I think that's very important and a great message.
Yeah. To me, and so the way I lay it out is like care, right? We're doing some relationship care here. So we're doing the communication, we're understanding how we're attaching to people, we're really understanding ourselves, we're getting down deep into understanding ourselves, and then our emotions and some other fun, juicy pieces that I have in my program also to help get to those spaces. But my desire is really, and my program is mostly centered on women right now. But I also do coach men, I coach couples. It's whoever wants to kind of move through these spaces with a little bit more grace and ease and maybe a little bit more flow. That's my desire is what I want for people.
Okay. So your business is evolving relationships. I always add your links above the video in the group, but they can find you at Evolving Relationship on Facebook, and you have a Facebook group.
Yeah, so it's Relationships Evolving. So it's
the way around.
So on Facebook, I have a page. So most of my contact I do through Facebook, or I email, which is gayle@relationshipsevolving.com. You can always reach me there. And my booking link is also on Facebook. It's on my Facebook page. And then I do have a private group for women. Might start one for men sometime soon, but it depends on the demand. But really for a place for the women to get together so that we can really kind of dive into some of these topics and, kind of find some strategies and advice. So yeah, that group is Relationships Evolving, and you can just go on there, hit the join button, answer a couple easy questions, like, are you a woman? Because believe it or not, I've had guys join.
Yeah, I have a women's only group, and I have men trying to join as well. I'm like, no.
I know. And it's funny. I've actually DM'd them and like, would you be interested in a men's group? And it's funny. They like, I'm not going to answer that. They're like,
I don't want to talk about my feelings with other men.
And it's one of those things where I feel like it's a good container to kind of keep them a little bit separate in this kind of situation, because we are really talking about deep relationship stuff, and the way men handle things and the way women handle things are a little bit differently.
Love that. My final question I always ask my guests is, what is your message to the world? What is it that you want everyone to know?
My message to the world would be, one, you don't have to do things alone. There are people out there, like the universe has your back. And we're here for experiences. If you just take that in, that this is an experience that you get to have in whatever you're doing in life. And then from there, you get to feel. And just feel. We're so afraid to feel. And when you start doing that, and you're able to really drop into that space of truth, and what is your truth and your honesty, and you're being honest with who you are and what you desire in life, everything is going to flow from there.
Love that.
So
it's so important to feel the feels. I say it all the time.
Yep.
Suppress anything, it's just going to get trapped, and it's going to cause a whole lot more drama than what you would experience in actually expressing and feeling your own emotion. Love that. That's such a powerful message.
Good.
Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your story today, Gayle. I'm sure a lot of women are going to resonate with your story and be intrigued to work with you and to, really experiment and be able to express themselves and their relationships better. I think it's really powerful what you're doing, and you're helping a lot of women through a really dark and confronting time for some people.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. So thank you for having me. I super appreciate it. I love your podcast, and was very honored to be on it today.
Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Thank you, dear souls, for joining me on this sacred journey. If you enjoyed this soul-nourishing experience, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you can stay connected and never miss a moment of our soulful exploration. Let's keep this transformative conversation going in the comments below. Share your insights, your dreams, and the magical moments you encounter. This is a community of like-minded souls, and your voice matters. If you're feeling called to dive even deeper into the realms of intuition and soulful living, remember that I'm here for you. Reach out to me through the links in the description. Let's embark on a personalized adventure to help you create the life of your dreams. This is Vanessa signing off from the Sacred Soul Shift series. Stay enchanted and keep shining bright.